Hey, what's up, Street Talks? The Eric from the Eric from Street Photography blog, blah, 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 blah. So I want to share you this practical idea I have about marketing in photography and all this silly nonsense. So first and foremost, as you guys well know by my lovely YouTube comments, I'm probably one of the most hated street photographers or photographers on the internet and possibly the planet. And I take great pride in that, because it means that I'm essentially ruffling people's feathers because I'm saying stuff that people don't like to hear. And it's kind of a shame because honestly, like, if you have an Instagram, Facebook, your own YouTube channel, or if you're sharing your photos online, you're essentially a photography entrepreneur, because you're taking a risk by sharing your photos in a public forum and you're putting yourself open to judgment. And to be honest, it takes a lot of courage to put yourself out there. And to me, ultimately, entrepreneurship and photography business, blah blah, it's not even about becoming successful in terms of getting 1 million followers or making a living from whatever you do. It's more about being authentic. It's about sharing your own personal opinions, and it's about not censoring yourself. And it takes a lot of courage for us to put ourselves out there. So if you're watching this video and you're interested in entrepreneurship, I already congratulate you for deciding to take a risk. And all this advice I'll give you about branding, marketing, and photography, it's just based on my personal experiences, my personal opinion. Obviously, this is probably not going to apply to you, but maybe it could just help spark some ideas. So first and foremost, I think one of the first principles is don't front or don't be fake. So in the rap game, the worst thing you could do is front or fake or pretend to be something you're not, or pretend to experience tougher things than you actually did. So I remember when I was like a teenager, mostly teenager, middle school, there's so many guys who try to front and be super hard, like, so, you know, I'm such a thug, I'm such a gangster, and their parents live in the suburbs and their parents have like a nice family or whatever. So, you know, you don't need to prove yourself by pretending to be something you're not. Essentially just be who you are and be proud of who you are and where you came from, and don't feel like you really have anything to prove, because you got nothing to prove but just for you to be yourself. And so, for example, in photography, I think a lot of people want to prop up their self-esteem and their ego by trying to convey to the rest of the world that they're successful via external measures, like how many followers you have, you know, how many solo exhibitions you had, blah blah. But ultimately, none of this stuff really matters. What's more important is that you don't fake and you're authentic. And I think one of the biggest tips to long-term success as a photographer or entrepreneur is for you to not front, for you to be authentic. Because the truth is, this is a concept brought by Kevin Kelly, is it's better to have 1,000 true fans than to have like 1 million mildly interesting fans. And I even think that my best friend Heraclitus, one of the pre-Socratic philosophers, said, to me, 1 man is worth as much as 1,000 men or 10,000 men. Which means, like, let me give you a practical example. So let's say you do photography workshops, you sell products, whatever. You might only need 1 or 2 people to purchase your product or services in order for you to make a living or to make a profit from your photography. So for example, let's say if I'm doing a workshop and I'm charging $1,500 for it, I only need 1 person to sign up, or like maybe 3 people to sign up a month, and boom, I already have my living expenses covered. And the problem is that a lot of photographers, they're always chasing social media followers and numbers rather than actually thinking about money. Now, this is kind of a controversial point, but the truth is only a true fan is somebody who's really, really devoted to you and stuff like that, will actually pay with their real money to support you. And the best way to show support for somebody you actually really support is actually through your dollars. There's a saying I think I learned from Cindy, is like, vote with your dollars. And so for example, let me give you an example. The rappers that I really like whenever I listen to their music, when I really, really like their music, like the last album, Championships by Meek Mill, or anything by Jay-Z or Kanye, I'll always buy their albums, even though I could easily pirate it on Pirate Bay or whatever, because it's kind of like having skin in the game. And you know, it's a pride thing for me, is that I want to show my real pride and my support for these artists by actually paying my dollars. And so that's a problem with Instagram and stuff, is that you can see a photographer with tens and thousands of followers and fans, or maybe even hundreds of thousands. And who knows, maybe all these people following them are bots, they're fake accounts, or maybe they're just people who are just kind of like mildly interested in what you do, but they're not so devoted to you that they're actually willing to pay real money for your services, whatever. And that's not to say that money should be the ultimate metric in terms of how true a fan is. I mean, maybe a true fan is somebody who religiously follows you, looks at your work, reads what you have to say, and supports you kind of more on the emotional perspective, whatever it may be. But anyways, what we're trying to look for is true fans and true followers, and the only way to buy that is by building trust. And we all know that branding and marketing is not about like, you know, being all fancy and schmancy and stuff like that. I think it's about building trust. And even if you think about a brand, it's all about trust. So for example, if I have a massive headache and I go to the store, I'm gonna buy a Tylenol, even though the active ingredient is the same in a generic, because I trust the brand of Tylenol. And branding actually has a very strange effect on our brains, is that even though we logically know the active ingredients are the same, if there's a trusted brand, we're always going to think it works better or performs better. So for example, if I'm wearing my Nike sneakers, right? Of course, it's just the same shoes mass produced in Indonesia or somewhere, and I pay like $200 for a pair of Nikes, but it still makes me feel cooler and makes me feel more powerful and athletic or whatever it may be, even though I could easily go to Payless and buy similar sneakers. So, you know, obviously that's why Nike spends thousands of millions of dollars on marketing, because marketing is a form of building your brand. And this is another practical tip I give, is that when it comes to marketing and branding yourself, use your real name, your first and last name. Don't be like, you know, Midnight Street Photography Reveries or something like that. Use your first and last name, because we tend to remember first and last names a lot more vividly than we remember abstract brand constructs. So for example, if you think about some of the biggest brands in history, like, you know, Louis Vuitton, dude's name, Christian Dior, Rolls-Royce, which is a combination, I think, of Charles Rolls and Henry Royce or whatever, Henry Ford, and even Tesla. It's based on Nikola Tesla, from, you know, the guy who invented something with electricity. Anyways, we tend to remember names. So the benefit of putting your name on whatever you create or you do is that it's a badge of authenticity. Is that if you didn't really believe in what you're selling, or whatever you're selling, why would you put your real name on it? So a lot of people say, no, that's so egotistical, that's bad taste, because, you know, you shouldn't be so self-centered and you shouldn't be such a self-promoter. But if you don't promote yourself, who is? I think in today's digital age, it's the only way to succeed is to promote yourself, because gone are the days of the past where, you know, there's this silly, I think it's kind of like a Parisian notion of the, like, you know, you're this reclusive artist and you're pure to your art and all you do is create art, and then one day if your work is good enough, you know, somebody's going to discover you and then sign you, blah blah. But that's all essentially this false reality. The real entrepreneurs are the ones creating their own businesses. Like even Jay-Z, he started his own company because no one would sign him. So he started Rockefeller Records because he wanted to be like a Rockefeller, the rich John D. Rockefeller or whatever. And he essentially signed himself. And I think even Nas, he kind of did the same too. He signed himself. So I think it's getting rid of this notion that, oh, if you want to become successful, you had to get discovered and signed by someone else, or like, you know, sitting on your butt and waiting for some sort of fancy publisher to publish you. So even, for example, one of the things that's been really great for me is the power of self-publishing. And now there's still this negative stigma against self-publishing. People say that, oh, you know, that's not really legitimate, blah blah. And it's like, who is to say that but because you're being published by somebody else, it's more legitimate? I actually think it's more authentic if you publish yourself, because you have more control over the whole process. And honestly, in today's world, if you want to be successful as a photographer, you need to also be a master marketer, because it isn't enough to just have good photographs, because in today's world, everyone has really, really good photographs. Honestly, the problem isn't that there's so many bad photographers out there. The problem is that there's too many good photographers. So you got to ask yourself, how am I going to differentiate myself and how I'm going to stand out? And ways you could do that is to be controversial, which means taking opinions and having certain thoughts on photography or anything in life that's contra or different than other people in the world. And it takes a lot of courage. So ultimately, I think photography is, you know, entrepreneurship, it all comes down to courage. So just some basic principles to remind you: use your first and real last name. It's very important for you to own your own platform, your own website, blog. So I generally recommend bluehost.com and install wordpress.org. Also, things which are really important is, don't front, don't fake, don't pretend to be somebody else. Give your own opinion without hashtag or without a filter. Just say whatever you believe in. And yeah, and also generally, as a metric of success, the more quote-unquote haters you get, essentially it means that you're not boring. And the only sin as an entrepreneur is to be boring. So live life unfiltered, and yeah, know that life is short. Why not take a risk? Life is more fun that way. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Peace out.